when you're ready.
Okay. Call to order, roll call, please.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Here.
Mrs. Buzzard,
Here.
Mrs. Lamb,
Here.
Mrs. Grove, here, Mrs. Burton, here, Mr. Medina.
Here.
And Mrs. Clayton. Here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So introduction of guests.
Yes, so we have our administrative team here. We have some community members, and then we have our girls volleyball team, which I'm very, very excited to start our presentation with them this evening. So I'm going to head up.
Okay.
Head up here.
You two are.
Yes. I have a microphone out there, but I don't think I need it, but okay with that. I'm really excited. This is our second year in a row, for our meeting in November. We have gotten to invite our girls volleyball. We are in a sports conference that has girls who got volleyball, girls who got basketball, and girls who got track. And our volleyball team has been pretty dominant over the last 2 years. Last year, I think they won the tournament.
No, year before.
They
were in sixth grade.
Okay, all right. And then this past year, we went undefeated during the regular season, so won the conference during the regular season. And then we made it to the championship game, which we did not win to those dreaded Patriots. So regular season champions, second place tournament champions, pretty awesome. And we just wanted to come and congratulate them. Not only have they done a great job on the court, but I know they are great students, great leaders at Finley. So we just wanted to go ahead and recognize them. I'm going to ask Paul to come up and help us hand out some certificates as a coach. And then I'm going to ask you after we do that if she has a few words to say. And I'm going to read everyone's name whether they're here or not. If you want to recognize them. And if you are here and you get your certificate, you can come and line up and we'd love to get a picture at the end. First up, we have Claire Budis. Next up, we have Natalia Iwanika. We have Lorelai Powers. We have Kyrie Terry. We have Isabella Arroyo. We have Brooklyn Wasso. Carissa Doyle. Emily Navarro. Diana Valenti. Finley O'Boyle. Derek Duponich. And Sophia Mihon. So before we take our official picture, I'd love for Coach Mom to say a few words if she's up for it.
Or never say no to public speaking opportunity. So this group of girls, I know there's only a few representing, but we have basketball and a lot of them play other sports. They're not just one sport athletes. These girls are very well rounded. They play multiple sports. They are good students. They, like Dr. Thorne said, they're just the leaders at Finley. So when, we're trying to get a day together, they're not all going to be able to come because there's a lot of obligations there. The girls that are here, I have to say in front of them that, I am very proud of what they accomplished, but more importantly, I'm proud of how they conducted themselves when we won. We won 9 games in a row. I didn't have to call timeout, which was the easiest coaching job in the world. I was like, we didn't lose a set in those 9 games. Like, we literally dominated, and it wasn't the lack of talent on the other side. It was just that the girls just played so awesome. Where everything was insane. So for them to conduct themselves in a way where when they won, it was good job, say, good game, we're not rubbing it in, you know, like, that's what I really respected with these girls. They knew how to win gracefully, they knew how to lose gracefully, one loss. But they don't, you know, so that shows what kind of character that all the girls have, and that's something you really can't teach. Either have it or you don't. You have the mental toughness or you don't, you know, as an athlete, you have to have these things and these girls do. So I'm very proud of them for the accomplishments that they had, and I'm looking forward to the 6th, 7th graders this year moving on up for next year, so we can hopefully dominate again. As far as just a little sidebar, the parents at Finley are unbelievable. The amount of support that we get in every game, home and away, you know, they're always there, they're cheering. They don't ever, well, they could criticize me, but at home, I don't ever hear. I mean, it's probably not this, it's just fine. But, you know, they're very respectful. They understand that, you know, as 6th graders, they might have to work their way up, and 7th graders a little more, by 8th grade, you know. So they're really, really, really great parents, and I just want to thank the ones that are here. Thank you very much for always supporting not only your daughters, we're very lucky to have you, but supporting the whole team, supporting me, supporting the school. We really, really, really appreciate it. So,
Thanks for your time.
Taller than me. Right behind this. Right, sir? Oh, yeah, you guys are awesome. I'm ready. Congratulations.
For our parents and our families, you are more than welcome to stay if you're about audits. I have the set upstairs, also be a great time if you want to get home. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good rest of the year.
Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Okay, we are gonna move 12.0 up, which is the opportunity for visitors to speak.
You have Mr. Bruce, right? Mr. Bruce, if you would like to come up and speak now, would be a good time. Yeah.
My name is John Murray. I live at 10801 Lyman. I've been living here for over 30 years. Everything they put up, the electronic sign at midnight. My whole living room is put up. And I quit with her clothes. I don't understand why they had put a timer on it. Or something, or dim it late at night. But I just don't understand why in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Yeah,
I mean, if there anything they can do or not.
yeah. And we'll definitely look in to see if we can shut it off by a certain time, dim it at all times at night, but we'll definitly do that.
I mean, if they can dim it down a little, that's
Mhm.
fine. I know it was donated to a plant,
Mhm.
that's fine. I understand the school needs get more active.
Yep. Mhm.
My two boys graduated from here,
Mhm.
one in 98, one in 01. And both of them are very successful.
Yep.
In life out there, and I appreciate what the school did for my boy.
Yeah. And I know you've been very supportive of our school, and so we definitely want to see what we're able to do. And if you're okay, either myself or Dr. King will we'll stop by tomorrow or Thursday,
Okay.
if we have a solution.
I appreciate it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'd like to thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you. We appreciate all
Yeah.
stuff that we probably put up with, so. You too. Thank you. Okay. All right, so I believe that we are going to move to the presentation 2.0.
Correct.
So we have a presentation by Jared James, which is the draft of the audited financial statements.
Hmm.
Understandably so, yeah, lost a little bit of the crown. Honestly, that was even awesome. I appreciate the opportunity to do this even on the same day as the fall. I mean, I love basketball.
They did not. We'll move on.
Stuff.
But no, that's really cool. So, most certainly, as we get into, the draft and audit financial statements, I do want to at least recognize, Kathy, Lori, Michelle, the team that we work with, year over year, they do a phenomenal job. There's never an instance where, we feel that things are late as far as the things that we need from them. They keep us in very well communication, with kind of, certain requests, even though I'm sure at times it's a lot to ask for. So just want to also just give thanks to all of them. Overall, just with our findings, so I should say lack thereof findings. So overall, no findings, whether that's within the single audit or outside of compliance with anything ISBE related or with governmental accounting standards. A lot of this is just, the standard read through that we have to go through, but no audit adjustments as well. The only adjustments that did take place were standard within certain accounting regulations, so whether that governmental accounting standards 34 because of a cash basis audit or a cash basis school district. What else do we have here? No uncorrected misstatements. And then also no new accounting standards or announcements from last year into this year or nothing going forward that we know of. So that is all that I have. I know we provided or passed on draft to Kathy that we may have been circulated, but that draft truly is a draft, but we expect it to be finalized with nothing materially different within that. And yes, I can answer any questions if there are.
Jared, I know you have to head back to Milwaukee because you guys are working with someone else. So if there are no questions, we'll be happy to send you on your way.
No problem. Well, thank you for the
Yes,
time.
and thank you for your work.
you.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to reiterate that too, Kathy and her team, and Lori and everyone involved. They've got it all ready to go. And if they don't have it, they've got it to them really, really quick. I don't usually work with it too much, but I see it from the office those days that they're there and it goes very smoothly. So we appreciate it. So,
Okay, approval of the consent agenda.
oh, we skipped one. We're not there yet. We got a lot going on tonight.
How did we skip one?
So it is School Member Appreciation Week. Tomorrow is the official day. You will see your gift in front of you, which Lori was able to pick out, and I think you'll be very happy with it. So will your kids, I think, if you decide to share. If not, just keep it in the car and enjoy. But I do want to read the official resolution for School Board Member Day, which is November 15th. Whereas school board members are elected to sit in trust for their diverse communities and in that capacity are charged with meeting the community's expectations and aspirations for the public education of their children. And whereas school board members are entrusted with the guardianship and prudent expenditure of tax dollars, and they are responsible for maintaining and preserving the buildings, grounds, and other areas of the school district that the community has put in their trust. And whereas school board members are responsible for providing leadership that ensures a clear, shared vision of public education for their schools that sets high standards for the education of all students and requires the effective and efficient operation of their districts. And whereas school board members adopt public policy to give voice to that leadership and employ a superintendent to administer board policy and are also responsible for the regular monitoring of the district's performance and compliance with state policy. And whereas school board members selflessly volunteer countless hours to public service with no compensation, and whereas school districts face constant challenges and the strong dedicated leadership provided by the Chicago Ridge School District 127.5 Board of Education has allowed student learning and success to continue. And whereas employers are supportive of their employees who serve as board members, generously lending support and time, employers give their employees the opportunity to better serve the needs of the school districts and communities they represent through sometimes tremendous sacrifice to the employer. And whereas decisions made by school board members directly impact the quality of life and safety in their communities, placing them at the front line of local democracy. Therefore, be it resolved, we proclaim November 15th, 2023 as School Board Members Day as a way to honor those citizens who devote their time and energy for the successful education of our children and our future leaders. As I'm reading that, I'm thinking of all the different things that you guys do. And I think one of the biggest lines in there is to remember that this is all volunteer work. And you guys volunteered to do this, and you show up and you make decisions that sometimes might not even be the best for your own kid, but you know it's what's best for this community. So on behalf of the families, the staff, and the students, I just wanted to thank all of you and happy Board Member Day. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now we can do the.
Now we can approve the consent agenda. The minutes from October 10th, 2023 meeting, open session, minutes from 10th, closed session, minutes from October 24th, and then the financial reports. I will make the motion.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Burton. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Burrow. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Kraus.
Aye.
All right, superintendent's reports. Before I go on, I would like to point out, I missed one of our guests. For the first time I can remember, we have a student in the back. Hello, Joey.
Give him some of
Uh,
these cookies.
Yes, so I couldn't see before when we had that many people, so, but welcome. All right, so school and department reports, there's a lot of awesome things that were going on last month. We had Halloween and some of these costumes, some of them freak me out, but some of them are really, really creative that we got to see. There's also some pictures of some therapy dogs and kids loving that in there. So that's fantastic. And then if you look under the EL, our parent classes in conjunction, Mrs. Bucieri has been working with District 122. They've been hosting it at the Fine Arts Center. It does look like we might be hosting starting in the winter to hopefully get a few more of our families, but attendance has been fantastic from our families. So that's been a nice program. 5.2, the enrollment report. So we've gone basically a whole year and we had these same exact students, it seems like, as we did the month before, and we're actually an increase of 16 students. So we're starting to see those numbers flatline a little bit. PTA report, I actually have some things to report on the PTA. We do have a new PTA president, Mrs. Weg, and we have a few more positions that they are trying to fill. And but they have started, it looks like we're going to have the book fairs running at conferences. We also have our first dine and donate at Buena Beef this month, and then next month is Chick-fil-A. And so they're trying to get things rolling. They're really going to launch starting in January, where they're going to do the push for membership and everything. They wanted to kind of get their feet wet. I do appreciate Mrs. Willer and Mrs. Toma and Mrs. Worster, who were our board. We're at that first meeting and are there to really support them. They said, even though we're not on the board, we are going to answer all questions for you. So I really appreciate that, because oftentimes people step back and then just kind of push it, and they're really willing to stay on. So I do appreciate that. Under vacant positions and possible staffing needs, junior high special ed is still the one that continues to be on there. Our other positions we filled, and some of our staff who had to get some certificates here and there have, you'll see later in the meeting, have done that. So we've been able to take a couple of those off. Parent teacher conferences are tomorrow night. They start from 5 to 8 tomorrow, and then Monday, I believe, is 12:30 to 3:30. No, I'm wrong. 4:30 to 7:30 tomorrow, and then 12:30 to 3:30, and then 5 to 8 on Monday. We went back to all in person unless a a parent requested to have it via Zoom. We found that we just didn't have enough slots for people to be in person, doing it the way we did before. And the feedback was a lot of people wanted to come in person again. So looking forward to those. I was like walking around and getting to talk to people about the buildings. And for some people, that'll be the first time, like at Central or Lawn, or even at Finley, that they'll see some of the new stuff if they weren't there during open house. So that's exciting. We have our Triple I conference coming up this weekend, and Saturday morning, it's nice and early. So I will be down in the lobby by 7:45 with a departure time at 8 o'clock for that first session. So if you can join us, please feel free to be down there. I know Lori's been sending a lot of the things to make sure, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask Lori or myself. And I think Lori has something to add.
Your badges are right. So please make sure you take them home.
And I will say I'm very excited because this is the first time in my 5 years here that we have all 7 board members coming. So I think that's a great thing. And I can't wait to find out what we bring back and share with each other. And it should be a very nice weekend. So 5.7, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness Summative Designations. Each year, our students in 3rd through 8th grade take English, math, science, all these tests for a week or two where we tell you to make sure you get them to bed on time and eat a good breakfast. So then we get those results, and each school receives a designation. Last year, we had 2 commendables and 1 needs improvement, which then puts you on a 4-year cycle for needs improvement. This year, we actually received designations. All 3 were commendable. And then we still were anticipating that we would have to be doing the school improvement process. The score is adjusted enough where we received a letter that said Finley is being taken off of the school improvement. The nice thing is we are still allotted the money that we were going to have this year, because we have a lady by the name of Kelly Dubeck, we've worked with before, who is working with our ELA department and our special ed department to coach them. So we are still able to do that this year, because obviously we want to stay at that designation and to keep working through. But I think we've got some good things lined up, and we just want to keep moving forward with those as well. Any questions on that? Okay. 5.8, I do actually have an other. I got to do my student advisory last Tuesday. Got to meet with students I started off at Lawn, then I went to Central, and then to Finley, meet for about 45 minutes to an hour, just asking a lot of questions. Kids seem very happy this year. I couldn't have said that like 2 or 3 years ago, and we were still in our mix of whether they were in person, but like the kids were just very happy. Sending the questions ahead of time, which was a recommendation I received from an administrator, has helped a ton. I did that last year for the first time, but they come with things they want to talk about. And the one common thread throughout all 3 was how fantastic our meal program is. I mean, every other time they would just give a list of all the things they didn't like. This time it was, oh, I love this. I love this. Have you seen the salad bar? I even asked, like, well, what do you get at the salad bar? And like kids, I eat the carrots. Nobody likes peas, though. I did realize that. But it's just the oranges. They just love it. And what a difference from the year before. And Kathy, I think you have the numbers of the difference of how many meals we were serving before as to now.
Yeah, so actually, surprisingly, breakfast is relatively consistent, but we saw huge increases in the lunch volumes, and lunch has increased 48% over October of last year. And it's actually Ridge Lawn that has seen the highest, with the junior high kids stepping up. The junior high kids are eating the food. It's cool to do. Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, and I remember that being the discussion of the board when we were thinking, do we go and do we make this change? And the whole point was, we know if kids are eating, they are going to learn better and be happier. And from every piece of data and just seeing and having conversation, that does seem to be the case. So definitely, I think a wise move. We're going to talk a little bit more about lunch later on, but that was so like in my face about what they were happy about. I just wanted to share that.
Costco sticks are worth getting out of bed for.
All right, Mrs. Nothnagel has 6.1.
The district had piloted Dreambox Map.
I shared, this is an online resource that students participate in on their own. They can do it in school or at home, and it can be used as tier 1, so everyone can use it, or it could be specifically, designated to students who need more targeted and specific gas in tier 2 or tier 3. And in the fall, I had shared some data and some success stories of what we had seen teachers implementing that resource last year through the pilot, and then their NWEA spring score increasing and students growing. So the board did approve the purchase of MAP for this year. And since the teachers have been implementing it and students have been participating in it, I did start to pull some of the data, and we do see growth. So some students in 2nd grade have already shown almost a half a year of growth. Some of you looking at it, we now have students that were not at grade level with the standards when they were initially testing in or participating in lessons, and now they are either at or above grade level. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, kindergarten. And obviously the more the students participate, the more growth that they'll have. And I'd be happy to share specifics with anybody that wanted to see that, but it's so good to see, and we're really hoping and looking forward to the winter NWEA assessment so that we can compare those 2 data points to really celebrate that this resource is really one that we can see growth and see benefits and it's successful. With that being said, even Dr. Lawrence had mentioned his student advisory, and one of the things he had heard from all of the students at the elementary buildings was their love for Dreambox Math and the students really liking that resource. And so it does align with IN, and we appreciate the board for approving that at the beginning of the year. In October, the principals and I attended a session for Dreambox Reading. And there's 2 different titles. One's Dreambox Reading Park and one's Plus, but basically it's the reading side of Dreambox. And at this session that we spent the day together, it was just jaws dropped every time they were talking about the research behind the program for reading. And if students engage in 60 hours over the year, they will show 2.5 years of growth. And the research is really, they do a ton of research, and it's really successful. And so with that being said, tonight we are asking that the board approve a very large dollar amount of $125,275 to increase our math subscription for 2 more years, and then add for 2.5 years, so the rest of this year and 2 additional years, the Reading Park and Reading Plus, which would go towards all students pre-K 8 in the area of reading, and it can be used in the same manner of tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 based on the needs of the students.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course,
Of
I love
course, of course. When is this being used? Is this an at home? Is this in class? Is this with supports? Is this in an after school program?
sure. Yep, so at the elementary, if you remember last year, we had changed the schedule to allow for the what I need time. the
Okay.
win time. And so what is being implemented in the elementaries is when the teachers are pulling small groups, that the rest of the students are working on their Dreambox math lessons.
Okay,
It is also, we do have at the elementary a center time or flex time. It can also be incorporated then. And it can be used at home. So you might have children at Rick Central or Ridge Lawn that are using this resource as well. So it's being incorporated mostly in those 2 structured times, but also optional in other times as well. At the junior high, it's mostly in that math block. And we're hoping to strengthen that time. They're working on incorporating small groups into their 84-minute blocks, and that's something that Mr. Youngberg and Mrs. Bazian and I are working with the math teachers to strengthen, taking that 84 minutes and taking that last 20 or 24 minutes and working on small groups over the next several months. And so it would be implemented there as well. When the teacher is pulling small groups, all the rest of the students are doing their Dreambox lesson. And then if we are able to, and the board approves the reading, it would be the same thing for the junior high, but in ELA classes. And then at the elementary, they would have that opportunity during win time, the what I need time, or the flex center time as well.
So previously we had other programs though, like Freckles and something else. Are those gone now? And we're
Correct,
just
so,
moving towards Dream Boxes. We've seen so much success.
yep, so we
Okay.
currently have Freckle, Math, and ELA for the junior high. And they seem to favor that one, the teachers and the students, so we're looking at data, reviewing data to try to compare, to see, just like you had said, which resource is really showing us the data and the growth that it should. And at the elementary, we have just the ELA side, because the schools have really been pushing that math dream box.
Okay.
And again, seeing that growth. So that is everything that I do in my position, and what we want to do as a district is start looking at that data. We were just talking about this at our administrative team, looking at that data and saying, here's the evidence of why we're moving forward with this, and here's the evidence why we're not. moving
Or
forward with
abandoning
this.
Freckle, maybe.
Correct.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah,
I just knew we had these other supplemental programs before we jumped to
Mhm.
add it, but if it's showing that much success, then, I mean, obviously, it's a great idea.
yeah, and what I would like to be able to do is after our winter and review, like I said, really, create that visual to say, teacher A, has students participated in this many lessons, and look at their growth on NWBA, and really be able to celebrate that success and that growth of the students, but then also to create that intrinsic motivator of, I want to participate more because look what I can learn and what I can do. I can reach out, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so this $125,000, that's for the two and a half years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I see that 100,000 of it is coming out of the ESSER grant.
We, at the beginning of this year, as we were planning the budget, the after three budget, we allotted for $100,000 for a resource like this. At the time, we hadn't really settled on what it would be specifically, but I believe that it is the best use of our money after attending this in-person session that we attended. Unfortunately, when we wrote that part of the grant and allotted, the 100,000 is what we allotted, but this did come in at 125,275. So what we would do is, I reached out to the company and they were able to they wrote on our invoice, and it should be in your packet, that they would bill us now for the 100,000 so that we can use the money from our ESSER 3, and then bill us after that July 1st, 2024 for the remaining 25,000.
Is, Megan and I have been, talking about this. In ESSER 3, we have to remember that there's a learning loss component. We are required to spend X amount of dollars out of that grant. Megan has had no problem doing that, and this will certainly help. Now, the $25,000 is a concern, but hearing the feedback and the progress in such a short time, I feel that it's something that we need to make room for. And there is a grant, it's called the Digital Equity Grant. And it started during COVID, and for some reason, we were not awarded that grant until May 30th of last year. So quite honestly, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're awarded that grant again, and then the balance would go into there. It's called the Digital Equity Grant, and when it came out for COVID, it was really to promote online learning and remote learning, whether you chose to do devices or curriculum resources.
Was there a number for it?
Yeah, last year it was about $60,000. So if we were fortunate enough to get that grant, we would have that covered. And again, if not, it just sounds like a resource that we would find the money elsewhere.
Okay, so I have a question. We have so many things that we are using all of these ESSER grants for and everything like that. As ESSER goes away, how much do we have in reserve, or these things like, this is 2.5 years, so in 2.5 years,
Yeah.
we're going somewhere else, but some of these other things that we have that we would have re-upped, this is kind of gonna go in its place, correct?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just wondering how much, like, okay, this is what we have, we're adding this with ESSER, this goes away, so now this will,
Yeah,
balance in the budget here.
We have been as cognizant as possible throughout this whole time that these are extra monies, that you don't want to do a lot of things where it's going to be an ongoing cost that you're going to all of a sudden have to cut. Talk to many districts our size that are cutting 15 to 20 staff members because they just got all these staff members for COVID and now they can't pay for them. We really tried, and Kathy did a great job of managing, like making sure that the majority of that money went to one-time purchases. And then looking at, just like we talked with Freckle and Conacat, all these things, as we've retired them, as if we find something better, instead of just continually putting money in. So it's balancing. It might be a little bit more, but it's not going to kill us in the end.
Well, do we still pay for Moby Max?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say that was
Couple
a
years.
trash shoot, so I just wanna make sure that like, I didn't know, because that was another one that was, we were not, I felt like as a parent, it was not user friendly, and I feel like that was out of necessity, but it's good that we've kind of vetted a good program.
Well, and I think Meg and I were just talking about this today. The difference of spending a little bit more money and getting the program that we know is going to show student success is, with our EBF funding, we're definitely in a position that we can do that versus, well, we just have to get something based on the price. And I think that's something we have really learned over the last few years. So that's why we try to come with all the data we can to make sure that it's a wise purchase.
Plus, I think a big difference from what I've seen, everything is that we don't have those hurry up and do because we invested in having Megan do the work. I mean, before when you had you trying to do it and, Kathy and principals and stuff like that, there just wasn't somebody who was dedicated to looking at the data and to doing that. So I commend you for like streamlining this stuff, because I know as a parent, when my kids were in there, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it is really nice that it would be very consistent and that we're getting results out of it, because there's nothing more frustrating than not getting results, throwing good money at bad stuff. So I'm really glad that we have something that's gonna work.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, now what everyone came to the meeting for, we have Kathy's levy presentation.
On big spring, does it?
And if you want to turn around, or even if you want to take a seat in the front row so you can see her presentation, you're more than welcome to. And Kathy, I am going to go ahead and mute myself. So if you want to unmute yourself.
On the big, okay, so this is the time of the year to talk about the 2023 property tax levy. In the December meeting, we will ask the board to formally approve that levy. And throughout the presentation, there's some key terms that we don't hear very often, so I always like to just kind of refresh our memory. Tax levy is the amount we are going to ask the county to extend. They are only going to extend a legal amount, but this is what we are going to request. The extension is going to be what the county actually gives us. So at this point in time, we know what the 2022 tax extension was. A big component of the tax levy is the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index. And that basically says how much everything is costing us. And this is what determines the allowable increase in the annual levy. Because the next item, the PTEL, the Property Tax Extension Limiting Law, we are obligated by law. We cannot receive, we can ask for the world, but we cannot receive more than 5% or the current year CPI. So this year, the CPI for December 2021 to December 2022 is actually 6.5%. We are obligated by law only to be given 5% of that. But here's a.
That is because we're in county, right?
Yes.
Other counties are not
Yes.
subject to this thing.
Yes.
So that's why it's hard sometimes to compare us to.
Yes, and so what that means is, since we are in Cook County, we have this PTEL law. There are some of our neighboring districts to the north, they can get 12%, but then you're asking your taxpayers to pay additional 12%. So, and equalized assessed value you hear me talk about, it is not what your home is worth. It is what the assessor and the IRS call the equalized assessed value. Okay, so what impacts this year's property tax levy? Last year's extension, because that is our base. So last year, without our bonds, we received $7.3 million. New property estimate, we always put in there what we think the new property for Chicago Ridge is going to be. This year, I'm estimating 200,000, which is pretty standard. Last year, we actually did not have any new property when we got the values for 2022. The 2022 CPI, I already talked about, and then the PTEL. The PTEL says we're only going to be able to get the 5%. The balloon levy is very important because as your EAV goes up and down, and we do not know what 2023 EAV values are. Within all of our funds, we talk about the Ed Fund and the O&M fund. Each of those funds have a limit where you cannot receive more than X% in each fund. So let's say the property values go down next year and we are over in some of those funds, this balloon levy will capture that. Because the balloon levy is put in the educational fund and the educational fund does not have a limit. Okay, so this I always like to share because this is our historical CPI and this is for the last 30 years. The last 10 years average has only been 2.28%, and that is with the capped extension of 5%. So the last year and this year CPI at the end of December exceeded the 5%. So you'll see the 2023 in the red there because we can only use the 5%. Okay, I just wanted to cover a couple of things that were new last year. Public Act 102519 allows taxing bodies to receive a supplemental levy to recapture losses. And what that means is in the past, when we levied and we only received 98%, because of some reason that the district was out that money. Last year was the first year to say, we are allowed to recapture all of that money. So when we got the evaluation for last year for 2022, we actually were awarded by the county an additional $48,000, which if this was 2 years ago, it would have been money lost. Okay, and then two other things that we just want to disclose. When we do have the formal hearing next month, we will put on display all of our cash reserve balances by fund. And then years, we have been talking about levying the max because we could never get that money back. And up until 2 years ago, that was the truth. Because if we did not levy in 1 year, it was lost because the current year levy is the starting point of last year's levy. So if it's not in 1 year and you don't capture it, it's lost forever. But I do want to disclose that that law is no longer. There are some things that for some reason we decided to only levy 4%. There is an opportunity to gain that 1% back. Okay, and I just really wanted to make that point because again, this is brand new and I do want to let the board know if we do not levy the 5%, there are a lot of things that go on with it, but we could actually get some of that money back. Okay, this is our EAV. In the red are the triannual assessments. And so it's really no surprise that 2022 just went down very slightly. That is almost just nominal there. So our EAV for our area is $171 million. So it's down very slightly from 2021, I'm sorry. I do expect 2023 to go up because it will be an assessment year. Okay, EAV does impact our tax levy for the reasons I've already talked about. The tax rate ceilings, if that EAV went down too much, we would not be able to levy what we would like in each fund. And that is really the reason for the moving levy. If EAV goes up and there's no new property, we will not see any of that $50,000 because we can only receive what is allowed by law, but we always do put that in just to kind of cover our bases. The assumptions we're doing for this tax levy, it's an estimated EAV to increase by 9%, which is actually pretty conservative. There's some other districts that are doing double digits. Estimated new construction, 200,000. The levy amount we're requesting the board to approve is 5%. Keep in mind, CPI is 6.5%, so we're already a little behind the 8 ball there. Because it's costing everyone 6.5%, we're only requesting 5%, and then our balloon levy of 50,000. So mathematically, this is what it looks like. Our capped extension for 2022 was that 7.3 million that you saw on with the first slide. Lots of information there, but at the end of the day, the total 2023 tax levy is about 8.2 million. And now keep in mind, the difference between the 7.3 and the 8.2 looks a little scary. I have the bond number in there as well. The bonds were sold back in 2020. That amount has already been levied for. There's nothing we do, but I just wanted to give a very fair presentation of what the levy would be. And I always like to put this slide because it's the homeowners that are paying for our education. So I put this slide together at various market values of home. Again, that second column and third column is what the county and the IRS does in terms of evaluation. So if you have $175,000 home value, next year we're estimating it to be 9% higher. So you're going from the 175,000 to the 190,000. Your bill related to our district is going to be $63.84 higher. And then obviously you could see the highest value I have there is about 275.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Just as a homeowner, and I think that that's where everyone targets in. That's for the year.
That is for the year.
So basically, if you broke it down, it is $5.
It is for the year, but we do have to stress that is only for the 127.5 portion of your bill. We do not know what the police department's gonna do. We do not know what the high school is gonna do. But
Well, and to be frank, we're talking about our district and the parents who live in this area, and that I think it's, you know, if I'm talking to myself like I'm a 5-year-old, this is what I need to hear.
Yes.
That like, this is actually how much it's going to be. These are all huge numbers on a chart, but in actuality, from our district, it's about 12 divided by 6, which I'm not a math person, so
And it
about
does-
$5 a month, so.
And as a taxpayer, you're exactly right. This is what it comes down to.
And the other thing is, like what Chris is saying, the thing is that most people don't even see this necessarily in as much because so many people have their taxes in escrow. So, you know, that direct correlation is sometimes hard for people to understand because the way that your escrow is calculated is all the crud together. So, but as far as looking at it down, it's nice to tell our taxpayers that as far as the school is concerned, I mean, it's only $63 a year and you're trying to pay teachers and, you know, all that other type of stuff.
So in summary, we'll be asking the board in December for the 5% tax levy. And I do want to state that this levy, again, this is the second year we'll be requesting 5%. But as you saw on that previous slide, this is unprecedented. Right now, CPI is running 3.2% for the last 12 months. So I am not anticipating us reaching the retail limit next year. I don't see financially how November and December could bring that weighted average above 5%. So that will be our maximum. And then, we all know there's labor shortages, the rising cost of, labor, salaries, everything you touch, it's costing the district more money as homeowners as well. And as one of the board members, alluded, ESSER money is going away. We financed a lot of positions, social workers, special ed teachers, supplies. And this money will go a long way towards allowing us to keep those. So, today we'll ask the board to approve the tentative tax levy. And I encourage anyone on the board or, the public for that matter, to reach out to me over the next couple of weeks if you have any questions, if you want to know more. Usually I don't get a lot of that, but just in case there is. And then on the 14th, we will have formal, public hearing to approve it. Does anyone have any questions? I know that's always a lot. Okay, thank you all.
Kathy,
It's December 12th is the next board meeting. Yes.
the
Yep.
14th is a Thursday, because it's my birthday.
And it's also the band concert.
It's very important for our,
Yes.
Thanks, Kathy.
Okay. We are,
7.2, she's still going.
oh, she is. I like that.
Okay, so just two more items here on my agenda. This is the time of the year also, we apply for the FY 24 property tax relief grant. And this grant started back in 2019. I'm going to be very honest with you, we are not going to get it. But we would be remiss in not applying for it. Right now, we are on ranked 119 out of 851. There's only so much money to go around. It's a state relief grant. And what the state does is if we were awarded the grant, we would abate our taxes to our taxpayers, and then we would get roughly about 90% or 98% back. So there is a very small cash flow deficit for us. But literally it's a click of a button. And if something happened where we said no to the opportunity to give our taxpayers back $1 million, I don't think that would be good. So we always ask the board to approve that. Okay, so then my final discussion is the food service program. So I know we are all extremely happy, and it's just been wonderful with our food service program. We were awarded a 1-year emergency procurement opportunity, which basically meant our food service was subpar. And the state Board of Education knew that because we were not alone, and they awarded a 1-year agreement. So that we went out and we researched a couple of companies and we ended up with Quest Foods. Well, now we have to go out for bid. It was only a 1-year thing. And when you go out for bid for a food service program, you go out for a 1-year contract with the opportunity to renew for 4 years. Okay. And it's my understanding that because of these 1-year procurements, literally hundreds of districts are going out for bid, much more than would normally be going out for bid on this cycle. And so we have two choices. We could go out for bid on our own and have total, control over the RFP or the request for a proposal. And one thing that ISB has done is they have gone away with the lowest price, which is just wonderful. And so it is a formal request for proposal that we would go out and we would say our specifications, what we're looking for, and we would invite the public to bid on our food service program. Now, District 161, Matson, has a working kitchen that they built last year. Currently, Quest Foods is making the food in that building and serving it to 161 students along with other school districts. Okay, so the kitchen is already up and running. And we were approached by a business manager of 161 because what he's trying to do is get a group of school districts together to do a joint RFP. So we would all work together on the specifications and we would put that out for bid. And the reason I think it's a really good idea is we always want to encourage bidders. Whether we are one school or this group is about 4 schools, I feel like we will get better participation from the vendors if we're a larger school. Because right now, we don't know if vendors will look at bidding at one school as opposed to bidding on a co-op, if you will, of 4 schools. Now, when we were sitting down for our initial meeting, we are all in agreement that our priority is high quality food. The 4 school districts that are interested, their money is always an issue. And, but part of the RFP, 35% of it has to be price, which incentivizes all of these vendors to give us, you know, good, fair prices. And the rest of it, it can be customer service, history, financial security. So that rubric or evaluation is going to be 100%. And when we talked as a group, quality was our priority because I shared with them over the last year how the Board of Education just really stressed we wanted more students to eat, we wanted to increase participation, and we wanted them to like the food. So that my thought is I think we will get more bidders and more quality bidders if we join this joint RFP and go out to bid as a group. Please.
If they pick something, we have to go with it though.
We do. We
So
do.
that's the caveat.
Yeah.
that We might have more competitive bids and more people coming in, but if it's more cost effective for them to do something that is not what we need, we have to go with the herd. Right?
Yes, but, and you are exactly right, but if we go out for bid on our own and we create our rubric and it's someone we, you know, have not worked with or somebody's not a favorite, we need to go with them anyways. So what we wanted to make sure is all of our priorities align.
So where does Quest fit into this? Because like, we are having insurmountable success with this program, and I understand. I remember when we went to back and forth about building the kitchen and whatever, that they were a little bit more money, but that it's been worth it.
Yes, I
Look at it.
definitely agree, and I am certain they would be one of our bidders.
What are these other schools using now? I mean, if they're
yeah.
paying
Yeah.
50 cents like the other. places,
Sure.
as Opposed to how Quest was significantly higher, but significantly better quality.
So 161, which is the kind of the leader of this group, Quest is already cooking in their kitchen. Okay, so, and I came right out and asked them because we pay $3.30 something, I believe, for a lunch. So they were paying $3 a lunch, which is lower, but they're also using their facilities. So from what I understand, it costs about 25 cents to pay for the facility using it. The other district is actually using Quest themselves, but they are in an agreement with another school district that I'm just going to say is not playing very nice. And the 4th district is just not happy with their service whatsoever. So 3 of us have Quest currently and are extremely pleased.
Well, that helps me. That makes me feel a little bit better that I just don't want to go out to bid and get another random place and then we had this great year.
I know,
success,
and that,
it's like that.
yeah, I totally agree because I don't want to put our program in jeopardy, but we have to, I know. And I just feel like maybe this is hopefully our best option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've understood, I was looking at this, the partnership plan, so according to this, it says that they're capable of producing a livable food
Yes.
per day.
Yes, so I went to the kitchen
it was spotless. I didn't even know it was an operational kitchen. It was so clean. But yes, so right now, they're probably, don't quote me, maybe between all four schools, maybe looking at like 2,000 meals. They're nowhere near capacity.
Okay, so again, are they looking to do any other school districts besides the four that they're looking at right now?
Right now, just the four, because it's my understanding that, let's say we wanted to get out or another group wanted to add, that's a new RFP. So I do think if this is a success and after year one, we're happy with this, I see us renewing for the options. Yeah.
All right, so we'll review for that. So if somebody else sees that I just can't think, so if there are other districts that see after the 1 year that they are interested, are they able to amend in or is that a reset and, you know what I mean?
I believe I think it's a new contract because we actually did we did ask that question and Craig from 161 was going to reach out to ISB on that.
Okay, make
Mhm.
sure that like somebody can't just be like, England.
Yeah, I do think it would be a brand new RFP. And again, if our four districts are happy, we might not let them in. You know, we might not want to jeopardize going out for bid if we got a good thing.
Well,
Mhm.
but I'm asking, I mean, you know, you're saying that they have capacity for 20,000 and they're only gonna be like, doing what, not even like a quarter of the capacity.
Yes.
Is this school district looking to be like, hey, you know what I mean, we want to use what we built, so that's why I was trying to make sure that it was before, that's that contract, and then
Mhm.
after that period of time, could they change, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Does that make sense?
understood. It does. Mhm, mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Kathy, I was looking at grants for like lunches.
Yeah,
Finley was awarded in 2017, a equipment assistant grant.
yeah.
Is that something maybe we could reapply for in 24?
Definitely. And it's usually in November. And from what I understand, this is going back, but I believe the star of that grant was Miss Bonnie Kunster over there. And she and she applied for a grant and got us a freezer. And the reason we have not applied for that grant was because all of our equipment was open kitchens, so we never really needed anything. So if that grant is out there now that we had to buy the freezers and the steam tables, we will be applying for that. Mhm. 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 Okay, okay, thank you.
Where are we at now?
We are at 7.4 other.
Nope.
8.00 business. 8.1 other.
Nope, straight on to new business.
9.0 new business.
Okay.
We're looking for 9.1, a potential board action to approve the tentative 2023 property tax levy. I'll make a motion.
A second. Mrs. Schroeder. Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Abuzik.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye. 9.2, potential board action to accept the 23 draft of the audited financial statement as prepared by RSMUS LLC.
I like the motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Abuzik.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye. 9.3, potential board action to authorize and direct administration to prepare and submit the timely application to the Illinois State Board of Education for a property tax relief grant for the fiscal year of 2024.
Make a motion. I'll second. Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Abuzik.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye. 9.4, I'm assuming this is the projects that we spoke on at the last meeting.
Yep.
So if you're unclear, since we didn't discuss it today, but this is a potential board action to authorize Studio GC to prepare design specifications and solicit bids for the summer of 2024 capital projects.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mrs. Groves. Aye. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Levancia.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 9.5 potential board action to participate in a joint RFP with Matson 162 for the food service program beginning in 2024.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mrs. Levancia.
Aye.
Mrs. Groves. Aye. Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 9.6 potential board action to approve the purchase of Dreambox reading and math through June 2026 at a cost of $125,000.
$275.
Thanks for that one.
Make a motion. I'll second. I have Mr. Medina on the motion, actually. Who made the second? Mrs. Bergen? Yeah. Okay. Mrs. Levancia.
Aye.
Mrs. Groves. Aye. Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mr. Medina. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. 9.7.
All right, so we have potential board action to post the following policies for a first reading. It was 98 pages of fun. I tried to do the best summary that I could. A couple things, 4.130 free and reduced price food services. I didn't break that out separately. That's an optional item that we can put in. And the optional statement is if state funding is available for the Healthy School Meals for All program, the board will annually determine if it will participate in the program. Currently, the program we have is federally funded. This program would allow, if there is ever state money, that we would be able to get that to help. So I would, after talking with Kathy and Kathy reading all this stuff, we would recommend that we put that in there. So that if it's there, we can capture the money. So that to me is kind of a no-brainer. And then we had a couple other ones with administrative recommendations. 5250 just asks how many full-time employees does the district currently employ? And that answer is 248. So there's not a whole lot of discussion to have for that. 6230 dealt with the library media program. It says, which policy language has the board adopted? There's two different choices. One basically says that you can never have a conversation about banning a book ever, which is not what most districts have as their adopted one. What I would recommend is that we do what we currently do, which is the American Library Association's Bill of Rights. It indicates that materials cannot be prescribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. That does not mean you can't have a conversation about it and decide in the future. If we go with the other language, you're basically taking away that choice completely. And I would always recommend that under anything that our board continues to have choices to make. So that would be my recommendation under that one. 760 deals with residents, and I've worked in districts before where they have allowed this. It says, does the board wish to accept requests from district employees for their non-resident children to attend schools in the district on a tuition-free basis? Currently, tuition for our district, if you're out of district, would be about $11,400 and change. I've never been asked this before, but it is in a teacher shortage. It could be a nice perk to have for someone. And it's not saying that we must do it. It's allowing them to make a request to myself as the superintendent, and then we can decide. And to me, the difference, if you have an employee who wants their kids to go here and it believes in the school district that much, and you can keep someone, it costs us a lot more to onboard a new teacher than $11,000. So I would recommend that we put the language in there that we can make that decision in the future. Joanna?
Well, it's a
Yeah.
subject, it's subjective.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
so it is saying that if it's a district employee's child, that they would make that request to me, and then I would make it on an individual basis. Yes.
It's not just like a blanket, everyone gets it.
Correct.
But it's a great way. I feel like a lot of districts are doing this to maintain or to draw in employees. Because then like it's one less drop off. It's, you know, act like the kid is there. So this is a big thing I think that's going on.
Be open to current staff.
Yeah.
Correct, yes, yeah. And like I said, in my 5 years, I've never been asked that question. When I was in my previous district, we had probably about 4 or 5 teachers who did have their kids in the district. So 7190 deals with student behavior. This one I actually had to call our attorney on because I was really confused. It said, would the board like to expand the notification duty or align it with 105 IL CS 5-27? And basically what it was saying is currently we have to let both parents and the police know if there is a firearm at school. Make complete sense. And then it asks if we wanted to expand it to include drugs or if someone assaulted a staff member. And so thought, okay, that makes sense. And I said, but do we have to then notify the police if we notify the parents? And they said, well, if you go to this school code from many years ago, you have to let police already know if it is involving drugs or battery of a staff member. But in the current school code, you did not have to let the parents know, which makes absolutely no sense to anybody. So this would then, if we adopt that, we would have to let the parents know. So I would recommend that we do adopt
Which
that.
we already do anyway.
Yes, it's
So-
basically codifying our current
Yes.
practice. And then 7270 dealt with administrating medicine to students and whether or not we would hold oxygen tanks. We do not have facilities for that, and it would be a huge liability. So I would recommend that we do not adopt a policy where we would have oxygen tanks stored. So all the other ones, a lot of them dealt with like legal reference updates, nothing major. But those are my recommendations that we would go ahead and approve the first policy reading. And then at the next meeting, do the second reading as well as adopt those.
Do we have any students or staff on oxygen?
Not that I'm aware of.
And I feel like I thought the same thing. If it was an individual situation, that might be different,
Yeah.
but then just storing it for no reason, there's like protocols and stuff. I hadn't.
Yes,
Before,
yes,
so. I
yeah.
feel like-
Yeah, one of the things that, just as we're talking, administering of medicines, the school code did change. We do have to have, I believe it's pronounced Narcan,
Yeah.
Narcan for, overdoses. So we will have to have those in each building. I already have it in my office currently. Once the training is offered, for free from the state, we will have those, our nurses will have those, by January 1 in each of the buildings. So that,
Does the schools have EpiPens on campus?
we do have EpiPens, yes, and a lot of students have in their 504, they'll have their individual ones, yes.
On their
Yeah.
person, yeah.
Mhm. Any other questions? All right, so I would recommend that we adopt the first reading of this policy.
I'll make a motion. As stated, of your recommendation.
I'll second.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mrs. Bergen. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Buzzard.
Aye.
Mrs. Petracca.
Aye. We are back down to another other.
Nope.
Meeting reports,
Nope.
10.0,
Nothing.
informational, 11.0.
Mhm.
11.1 other?
Nope.
Okay, so 12.0 we already did at the beginning of the meeting. 13.0 is president prerogative and breaking into kind of our fall break coming up and also the winter break. I think that the semester has just been wonderful. As it starts to get colder, I think families look for stuff to do with their children. I do know that the library offers great activities that are out of the cold. I'm excited that the Finley Band will be playing at the tree lighting ceremony once again, which is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So that will be wonderful. And I knew that the date was wrong because the Finley Band concert is also in December on the 14th. So I think that those are great things. I also am extremely excited to have everyone go to the conference and go to different sessions and get to learn things. I feel like as a new board member, attending those really gave me different ideas and things to bring back to the table. And I was able to fully kind of investigate things that I was interested in. So we're not going to meet a second time this month and only in the beginning of December. So and to all the teachers who are about to embark on their parent teacher conferences, 100%, we appreciate everything that's going on. I mean, looking at the numbers and everything that's coming in, things are just going really well. So just thanks to educators. This is Educator Week. This is the week that you're supposed to celebrate teachers. And I just feel like we have a great group of teachers as well as support staff in all three of our buildings. So thank you to everyone who does anything. Thank you to all the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week.
All right, so we are going to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of the discussion of the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body, to determine its validity as defined in Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1, the discussion of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees described in Section 2C2, the discussion of security measures and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, the staff, the public, or public property as defined in Section 2C8, the discussion of pending or probable and imminent litigation against affecting or on behalf of the district as defined in Section 2C11, and the discussion of minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act as defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not be discussing any student discipline during this meeting.
Looking for a motion.
Mrs. Bergen. Hi. Mrs. Grove. Aye. Mrs. Lamb. Aye. Mrs. Levon.
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder. Aye. Mr. Medina.
Aye.
Mrs. Campbell.
Aye.